Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mayor Sean Patterson Howard. It is Monday, July 8th. The time is 4:55 p.m. And we'd like to call the Board of Estimate and Contract meeting to order. Clerk Walters, can you please read the special notice announcement and call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Madam Mayor stated, this is a special Board of Estimate and Contract meeting. The meeting was called to approve salary resolutions for the city of Mount Vernon and any other business as prescribed. As required by law, the meeting was properly noticed in the Journal News and also posted on all our social media websites. The meeting is also a hybrid meeting. You can view the meeting online via Facebook or on Zoom. Roll call, Controller Morton.
Present.
Thank you. Council President Gleason.
Here.
Thank you. Madam Mayor.
Present, virtual.
Thank you.
Here
Thank you.
virtually.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Okay, you can proceed with the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, on the resolutions approving ordinances, item number 1, Department of Buildings. An ordinance authorizing the Department of Buildings to contract with Labella Associates DPC for fire safety and property maintenance inspection.
So moved. Second.
On the question. So on the question, right now, I'm going to hold this so that I can provide this board with some more detailed information in writing. But this is all part of the effort for us to come in compliance with the request of the Department of State. While a lot of people might think that the priority of the building department is processing permits and stop work orders and things of that nature, it is indeed not. The priority of the building department under the state of New York, and especially through the Department of State, is to do fire safety and life safety inspections. So that includes inspections of public dwellings. And with the public dwellings, we have 265 public dwellings in the city of Mount Vernon, public assemblies. So that's like schools, churches, catering halls, gathering places, even, conference rooms, community rooms and buildings. So we have 265. We also are responsible for doing inspections of multiple dwelling units. Multiple dwelling units, we have 1,915 parcels of multiple dwelling units. A multiple dwelling unit, for people's understanding, is a housing unit with more than 4 apartments in it. And so if it's a 3-family house, that's not a multiple dwelling unit. But if it's an apartment building with 4 or more apartments, it's considered a multiple dwelling unit. So we have 1,915 parcels of multiple dwelling units, which also include public assembly space of 75 persons or more. And then we have another 1,650 multiple family dwelling parcels. The 1915 multiple family dwelling units with public assembly attached, and the 1,650 multiple family dwelling parcels without a public assembly attached come out to over 11,646 units of housing that we're supposed to be doing inspections on. To just add a little bit more information to that, if there is a multiple dwelling unit in a public assembly, we're required to do annual inspections on those. Those have not happened with any consistency in 15 to 20 years in the city of Mount Vernon. The other ones without the public assemblies, the 1,650 multiple family dwelling units without public assemblies, we have no record, and the state couldn't find no record of the city doing those inspections for over 17 years. So there is a large portion of these that we're going to have to do annually going forward in order to be in compliance with the Department of State. And then there are 1,650 parcels with many, many units in them, and we'll get further breakdown on that we have to do every 3 years. Now, the challenge is, since we haven't done them for 17 years, we really need to get a majority of those done over the next year. And so we're really talking about over the next year having to inspect about that 11,646 units in the city, which is crucial. And it's not only crucial from a Department of State standpoint, it's really crucial from a city standpoint, because we know that there are a lot of dilapidated housing, that our housing stock in Mount Vernon is old. We know that we have a lot of landlords who do minimum maintenance standards here in the city. We know that we have an increasing amount of hoarding that is happening in places, and people are just living in substandard conditions. And so, doing these annual or these once every 3 years inspections can reduce the amount of poor housing stock that we have, bring down some of the complaints, deal with the hoarding, deal with fire safety and life safety issues for our residents, especially those residents who are afraid to make those phone calls to make a complaint against their property owner. And then it also puts property owners on notice that they can no longer be slumlords in the city of Mount Vernon. And, going forward, the other part that I want to do is really list publicly, in not just our websites, but in the newspaper, do a formal notice of those property owners that are bad landlords and slumlords where we know they're not maintaining their properties. So all of this will help us do it. But I want to make sure that we have enough of this information out there and available for you so that we could address it. I know I've just heard recently that some of the union staff have complained, concerns about us going outside to do this contracting. But again, we get lots of complaints, and the building department staff say they're overwhelmed right now. And if we take on this Herculean responsibility, which it is our responsibility, it's not a mandate, it's something we're supposed to do. Without this extra bandwidth, Mount Vernon will never be able to do it and sustain it. The other thing that I think is very important is, and we discussed it a little bit in the last BOE meeting, is, whether it's police, whether it's fire, or whether it's a building inspector or a code enforcement officer, from the date that they're hired to the date that they're really eligible to go out and do these inspections on their own and sign off on them as employees, takes about 9 months because of the amount of training and lead time that they need. And so these are things that we have to get done right away. We do not have the staff currently, and we don't have the ability to ramp up that quickly. If we hired 15 inspectors and code enforcement officers tomorrow, they still would not be ready in the next 6 to 9 months to go out and begin executing on these inspections. And that is why it is so critical that we go out right now to contract on this. So as I said, I know we have a Board of Estimate meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, the 16th, and we will be ready to bring this item back to you with more details at that time. So right now, I would like to pull it and hold it.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
So in addition to that, I think just for the detail that needs to come back, just make sure that inclusive in that for the resolution, right? Because the commissioner makes reference to section 6C of the procurement policy as it being allowed to have an exception to standard RFP, right? I think a little bit more detail as to the rationale behind that exception. Some of the stuff of what you just said, but I think that it should be somewhere in writing to say that here, right, while there is, so whereas that, probably right after that, a whereas should have been said, talked about the fact that you have a gap in your qualifications, in your present staffing to an immediate need, right? That does not then become practical for you to be able to go out and to actually do this work. And need to kind of also in response to the state's report, right, on that. So I think that needs to be done, needs to be added, just so that you have the documentation on it to kind of clearly outline why this pathway is being sought, right? So it's qualifications, and kind of the gap within the building department, kind of staff capacity to try to do this. Right.
Absolutely.
And based upon the fact that at the term of this contract is for it to expire on December 31st, right?
Right.
And it'll give enough time for there to be an RFP process after.
Correct. I know oftentimes the public gets concerned about one thing or another or outraged. What they need to do is be outraged about the fact that Mount Vernon hasn't done its job in 17 to 20 plus years in doing basic inspections, right? This is not just this administration, this goes over multiple administrations. And so if we want to fix the city, we gotta take the steps to fix the city. And this is way beyond just giving overtime to a few staff to be able to do this. This is really increasing the bandwidth of the building department so that we can perform our most basic duty to the city, and that is the life safety inspections that are required. So we will bring this back to the BOE on next Tuesday at our regular meeting. And until then, I will work with our Commissioner Holder and our Deputy Commissioner Mamak to make sure that we have all of the backup documentation in detail.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 2. Item number 2 is under subheading salary resolutions. Item number 2, salary resolution, code enforcement, zombie home coordinator, building clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Do we want to take any of these together, or we're doing them individually?
No, I think we want probably individually on this. So, okay.
On
So
the
we
question,
we need to make I guess an amendment on this, right? I think I mentioned this before, last meeting. Moving this to $1.
Yes.
Salary, in this is 63,679 for the code enforcement, right? My understanding is that there's no one in the position all year. So then we're saying that we're going to have a building clerk for $40,868.22.
Mhm.
So if you take that amount from the 63, you now have $22,810.78 that's somewhere out in the wind.
So I thought at the last meeting, we talked about instead of funding it down to the level of $1, right? Because we might need both. And
Right.
we know that we've already had over $30,000 in savings from the code enforcement position not being filled. And if it were filled, if both were filled right now, that the money that is already in the budget would cover both. We're not looking to do that right at this moment, but so are we bringing it down to $1, or are we just certifying what the salaries are for the positions?
We're
For this
certifying,
building clerk's position. So,
we're certifying what the salaries are. We're not bringing it down to $1 because like, you discussed in the prior meeting,
right,
have, used for both, positions.
okay,
Right, you're basically, right, you're certifying the building clerk's position at that salary,
at
Correct.
that salary.
right?
Right.
Mhm.
So, I'll have this revised, but for now, we're just certifying.
So you're taking the money from the code enforcement,
Yeah.
but you're basically just taking the
From the
40,000.
savings, yeah, it's not even
Right.
40,000, it's really gonna be 20-something thousand, because we're looking at only a half a year.
Still remain in that 22,000 will still remain in that line?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Got it.
Because it's the salaries line and not necessarily the petition
I
line,
got it.
position
Yep.
line, yeah, okay.
So moved, we're on the question. Yeah.
We did it, roll call?
Controller Morton?
I with the no
The
hidden
changes.
change.
Yes, thank you. Council President Gleason.
I with the change noted.
Yes, and Mayor Patterson Howard.
I change noted.
Correct. Thank you. Okay. Okay, all right, moving on to item number 3, still under salary resolution subheading. Item number 3, minimum maximum building clerk.
So moved.
Second,
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Controller Martin,
aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4, Department of Public Safety, Police Department, all positions, computer console operator, personnel associate, crime analyst, and records clerk.
So moved.
Second,
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Controller Martin,
aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes your agenda items for today's special meeting, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. And is there any new business?
You?
Well, I'm just going to take executive privilege. Happy birthday to my sister Kim and to my niece Kirsten. They're both born on the same day and it's their birthday today. So that's it. You know, good news.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Roll call to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Right.
Second.
Roll call.
Controller Martin,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at 5:11 PM.
All right.
Thank you.